We're back. That's right. Public safety and criminal justice. We're actually going to be doing two videos today, public safety and public works. Why? Because they are like a half an hour together, basically. So first off, there are just like 4 appointments, and then authorizes payment of legal fees and litigation costs by Marion County Sheriff's Office. So we're just gonna get through this whole thing. It's probably gonna be, it might be boring. I don't know, but let's just get, shall we?
Good evening and welcome everyone. It is Wednesday, December 11th, and we welcome everyone to the Public Safety Criminal Justice.
What the hell is going on here? Why do Carlino? Why is Carlino and Mascari dressed the same? And even Delaney is dressed kind of similar. But then you have Mowry and Boots kind of dressed similar. What is going on here?
Committee meeting of the Indianapolis Marion County City County Council. My name is Krista Carlino, and I am the chairwoman tonight. And we will begin tonight's meeting with introductions from councilors in the front row, beginning with Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Mowry, District 25.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paul Lene, District 22.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Josh Bain, District 21.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brienne Delaney, District 2.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Jessica McCormick, District 16.
Thank you, Madam.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Frank Mascara, District 19, Southeast Side.
Thank you, everyone. I think we have had some microphone difficulties, so make sure your light comes on. And if it doesn't, make sure we
remind me of?
tell
remember that CEO
Clerk Virgin
that got
we need
arrested?
to have looked at. Starting off, we have proposal number 388, 2024. It reappoints Alfarina McGinty to the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team.
Hold on. Doesn't this chick look like, doesn't Carlino look like Elizabeth Holmes? Hey, am I right? All right. Just saying. Trying to dress up. And next thing you know, she's going to be putting her voice a little bit lower, so she sounds more like a man. These people are insane.
It doesn't appear that Ms. McGinty is here this evening. However, it is a reappointment, and in your packets you have her attendance and very well know the level of work that she does and contributes to this team as coroner. Are there comments from councilors? Would any member of the public like to speak to the reappointment of Ms. McGinty?
I can't wait.
Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
Very good. All those in favor of proposal number 388 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. It passes unanimously. Thank you, councilors. Moving right along to proposal number 389, reappoints Kay Sue Leonard to the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team. Again, another reappointment, and I don't see them here this evening. Are there any comments from councilors? Seeing none, any members of the public wish to speak to proposal 389 and this reappointment? Seeing none, once again, the chair will entertain a motion. All those in favor of proposal 389 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it once again. Moving to proposal 390, we have a reappointment for Mr. Dwayne Ingram to the Board of Public Health and Safety, and I see that Mr. Ingram is here this evening. Dwayne, would you please come up to the podium and provide any remarks on your work to this point and anything you wish to share with this committee this evening?
Sure. Good evening, councilors. Thank you for considering my reappointment to the Board of Public Safety today. It is an honor and a privilege to continue to serve my community in this capacity. I'm excited and honored for the work that we get to do as a fiduciary of the funds that go to support our public health and safety department. And I would appreciate your support as I continue to serve my community.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Questions from councilors? Councilor Arnay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, Mr. Ingram, thank you for your willingness to both have served on this board and wish to be reappointed to this board. It's one of the more important ones, I think, for our city and county. We're just curious, as we weigh your reappointment and we look to 2025, are there any particular action items that you personally are expecting to address, or anything major that you are looking to cover? And if so, what would some of those things be?
Sure, great question. So a couple things that are on the docket for 2025 there's a number of cleanup items for expiring contracts within our IMPD that are really important to the work that our public safety officials have to do. So getting those contracts cleaned up so we can maintain our positioning and be in good standing with our vendors is critical, as well as there's a number of fire stations that are coming up for remodel and some renovations, some new fire stations. So looking at the budget and looking at how those firehouses have been prioritized for redevelopment and for refreshing is pretty critical as well. So those are two of the items that are important to me.
Well, thank you for sharing those, and I know that one of the tough things oftentimes for counselors, I'm speaking for myself in this instance, is that a lot of times we don't get to see those who serve on these boards until they're coming back for reappointment. And so we appreciate that update, and should there be any developments or things that you think that we could help you out with, please let us know. I also think it should be noted that out of the 11 meetings this past year, Mr. Ingram, you made 11 of 11. So we appreciate your perfect attendance. It's not always easy, but we appreciate the seriousness that you evidently bring to this board.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well said, Councilor Ane. Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Ingram. Looking at your resume here, which I appreciate that has been provided, I know you came before the council earlier this year in a different committee, on Education Committee. Do you still work for Rise Indy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's your capacity there?
My role is Vice President of Community Affairs.
Okay. Is that a full-time job? I'm just curious because it's not on here.
Oh, yes, it's a full-time job, yes.
Okay.
Other comments from councilors? Councilor Delaney.
I've had the privilege of working with Mr. Ingram in the past, and I just want to thank him for his career. His full-time career has been in public service as well as serving on this board. So I just want to thank you for...
God, Fiona McCormick. Hey, somebody recently, hey, you know how I went off about the whole thing for her at the city council, at the full council meeting, and then like the next meeting, she was like dressed halfway decent. Someone brought that up to me. He's like, hey, they must have been listening to you. Like, no. It's probably one of those really one-time deals. Sure as shit. Dressing like a slob.
Your service to the citizens of Indianapolis, and we appreciate that you continue to serve on this board. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
A second that, definitely well said. Yes, Councilor Graves.
And I'll add my as well. Thank you for the work you've done. You and I have worked together many times, and I appreciate the collaboration. Thank you for your public service.
Thank you, sir.
Very well. Are there any comments from members of the public on the reappointment of Mr. Ingram? Final comments from councilors, or the chair will entertain a motion? So moved. Very good. All those in favor of Proposal 390, reappointing Dwayne Ingram to the Board of Public Health and Safety, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it once again. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you all for your
Happy
support.
holidays. Next up, we have proposal number 391, reappointing Scott Carr to the Marion County Community Corrections Advisory Committee. I know Mr. Carr is not here this evening. I serve on that committee, and he does a wonderful job contributing to the work of that committee, and definitely would be so bold as to request to be a co-sponsor on this proposal 391. Mr. Clerk, are there any comments from councilors? Yes, Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, did I miss it, or was his attendance record in this packet? I didn't see it.
I'm going to have to get that to you guys at a later date. I was not able to get it from the board liaison.
Okay, thank you. So we don't, do you, Madam Chair, do you have any idea what his attendance record looks like on there, since you're on there as well?
Well, I can only speak for the meetings that I was at, so I would just rather wait till we get those from the clerk, because I don't have perfect attendance. So I'm sure he's made some meetings that I have not.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just want to make
yes.
sure in the future we're giving ourselves plenty of time to get these attendance records, because that's definitely an important thing we want to look at. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the clerk for getting all of these as well, and sometimes he doesn't get responses from those entities. Any member of the public wish to speak? Oh, Councilor Delaney, go ahead.
Madam Chair, may I also be added as a co-sponsor to this one?
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other comments from councilors? Would any member of the public wish to speak to Proposal 391? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
Very good. All those in favor of moving Proposal 391 to the full council with the due pass recommendation signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. 391 passes unanimously. And finally, Proposal 392 authorizes the payment of legal fees and litigation costs by the Marion County Sheriff's Office from the Jail Commissary Fund. Mr. Sherrif, welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I just have a brief statement, and I'm happy to answer any all questions. Recently, in a brief audit by the State Board of Accounts, they brought to our attention that there was not a specific document that addressed having all litigation expenses come from the commissary fund. In 2003, Council Resolution 77 determined to have the commissary fund pay for litigation on the jail lawsuit that had been going through the federal system for 35 years. Prior to that time, the county auditor would provide budget dollars for litigation. This was prior to the city controller assuming countywide authority for all budgets. As an example, in 2001, Sheriff Cotty was provided with $1.9 million in budgeted professional fees. That federal case was finally resolved in 2007 under Sheriff Anderson. No specific document specifies the legal fee should then continue to come through the commissary fund, although that's been the practice and has been operated as such for 17 years. The State Board of Accounts advised a new resolution should be submitted. Additionally, from 2003 to present, all expenses funded from the commissary fund have been reported twice per year, each year by the Sheriff's Office in writing to the City County Council. When I was elected sheriff and took off in 2019, I began the additional practice of reporting twice a year in writing to the council, as well as to all countywide elected officials. 2003, the MCSD was represented by Locke Reynolds, who merged with Frost Todd Brown in 2009. They have represented us very well. As an example, the Washington Post in 2022.
That's really interesting because Frost Brown Todd donates to a lot of Democrats, so that actually makes a lot of fucking sense now.
Reported that 25 largest law enforcement agencies each paid out an average of $12.8 million per year from 2011 to 2021. The MCSO has paid out an average indemnity payment of $383,296 each year over the past 9 years. So in winding up this proposal, this request of the council for the proposal of 392 of 2024 so that I may present to the State Board of Accounts the clarifying resolution. I have with me also our CFO, Callan Carr, lawyers from Frost Brown Todd, Tony Overholtz, Alex Wills, Kevin Murray, and my executive officer, Deputy Chief Kelvis Williams. We're happy and available to answer any all questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheriff Forstall. Are there any questions from councilors on this proposal? Mr. Clerk, it may just be my packet, but I don't see any language, or is there a draft? Was it an addendum? Just to make sure that we have that before us. Councilors, are you missing this page? But you have it in the digital, in the email? Okay.
Who fucked up?
as someone who used the copier right before this meeting, I can tell you that Chairwoman McCormick fixed it, and it may have printed prior to, but it didn't look like it was broken, but it was, and then it's now fixed. But not to make light of not having the piece, but it was sent to counselors ahead of time. We've had time to review, but I wanted to make sure if there were any questions, the counselors were able to. Counselor Delaney?
Just one question, if you could clarify, when you were talking about $12 million for other large agencies versus 300-some thousand, what specifically were you referring to in that? If you could be a little bit more
Sure, in
detailed for us.
lawsuits that are resolved by are legal in people that try to sue the sheriff's office.
Okay.
So in comparison to other major cities, the 25 largest on an average was according to the Washington Post, $12.8 million a year.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
That's crazy.
Thank you. Yes, Chairman Mascari?
Yeah, I'm one of the sponsor on this. I understand if it's just a clarification on how they can move this money, and that's all it is. Thank you.
Vice Chair Boots?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Sheriff Forrestal. Just to clarify, your average spend on legal fees per year, roughly 300, is that the number I'm hearing?
That's correct.
Okay. Versus the average?
I'm sorry, on lawsuits.
Right.
On the resolution of lawsuits.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments? Would any member of the public like to speak to Proposal 392? Seeing none? We have a proper motion and a second. All those in favor of Proposal 392 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Sheriff and team.
Huh?
Happy holidays to everyone. Before we conclude tonight's meeting, I just want to take a moment to wish all of our public safety officials, law enforcement, fire, 911, EMS, a safe holiday season. I know they spend a lot of their time away from their families, making sure that our families are safe. And so I just want to acknowledge that and wish everyone a happy holiday.
She is really working on trying to get that vice president position. All right, so for those who don't know, every year they get to vote on who's going to be president, who's going to be vice president, and a minority leader. So you see right here, this table right here. Okay, so you see this table right here. It's normally Brian Mowry, Bob Osley, and the vice president, which is now Allie Brown. And my gut feeling is that Carlino wants that position for vice president. I also am hearing that there is some major push to get Vop out of the president position. I actually don't mind Vop. Whoever replaces him is going to be so much more biased than everybody else. So Republicans, if you're out there, if you had to pick your shit sandwich, I think I would pick Vop Osley. Definitely not, what's her name? Elizabeth Carlino. Yeah, please don't do that. I'll take Vop. I talked to elected Republicans, enough of them, and they all don't have that big of a problem with Vop. They have a huge problem with Leroy and Maggie, and obviously Allie Brown and Jesse Brown. Oh man, I'll tell you what. I have been hearing some crazy things about Jesse Brown as of late. But anyway, we'll save that for Saturday. Saturday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern. We're going to talk about some crazy shit, especially what happened today with Senate Minority Leader Greg Taylor getting ousted for Shelley Yoder Leahy, who. So yeah, on to the next one. Okay, Public Works Committee, let's get into it.
All right. Welcome to our Public Works Committee for December 12th, 2024, and our last Public Works Committee meeting for the year. We will begin with introductions of counselors on the bottom row.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Derek Cahill, District 23.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike Dilk, District 24.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Mowry, District 25.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nick Roberts, District 4.
Thank you, Chairwoman Jones. Andy Nielsen, District 14.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ron Gibson, District 8.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Dan Boots, District 3, Washington, Lawrence.
I was Nick Roberts, if I was having to sit next to him, does that like slouchy shit, I would just grab the back of his chair and be like, knock it off. That's enough. Get up like an adult.
Townships.
Thank you, Chairwoman Jessica McCormick, District 16. Good evening, Chairwoman Jones. Krista Carlino, District 11, West Side.
Thank you. And I'm Kristen Jones, District 18. The only proposal on our agenda tonight is Proposal 395, 2024, which amends Chapter 621 of the Revised Code to establish residential permit parking on designated streets in the Chatham Arch Neighborhood. This evening, we have with us Councilor Jesse Brown to begin our presentation.
Let's see. You guys don't know what Chatham Arch is. Boom. So this would be Mass Ave. Let me show it to you in a map, though. All right, so this would be Mass Ave. There. Now, I've parked on like Arch before, and because Mass Ave, if I'm only going to be around for like 20 minutes to a half an hour, like I think I parked one time. I had to pay for it just so I can go get a poster from staff, but that's very rich area. A lot of shit libs too. Yeah, not all of them, but most of them.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll be very brief, and I've invited the constituents who live in this area to come up and say a few words about this as well. But I briefly just wanted to mention that this is an issue the Chatham Arch neighborhood has been dealing with for many years, and they're privileged and lucky enough to live in a really wonderful spot of downtown, and they're very aware that it's a good thing that we have a lot of businesses in the neighborhood that are helping prop the city up. They are paying their residential taxes and have been for many years, and often don't have a place where they can even park in front of their houses. And since they are an older neighborhood, many of them don't have garage parking or off-street parking, and so it's becoming a greater and greater issue as development of downtown continues.
So you get a balance. Either you can't park easily, or you don't have everything right next to you. You actually have to use a garage to park, right? So which one do you want? That is the question. Would you have to drive somewhere to get somewhere, or would you rather not have a car, but everything's right there? Basically, bubble life to transport yourself life.
And they've been very thoughtful and tried to be cognizant of visitors to their neighborhood as well as residents. And I think they've come forward with a very reasonable proposal that they're here to talk about. But the overview is that there are 4 streets kind of near the boundaries of the neighborhood. On each of those 4 streets, they're asking for residential parking on one side only of each of those streets. So they want to make sure there's not any area where there isn't an ability for somebody who works in the neighborhood or somebody who's visiting a local business to be able to find parking. They just want to also have the ability to get to and from their homes easily. So with that, I'd like to ask Tom and Dee to come up. We have the president of the Neighborhood Association and Tom Hannafy, who is very used to speaking in front of politicians like this.
I am Tom Hannafy.
Excuse me, I need to read the rules.
I am so sorry.
You got to wait for a minute.
As we move to the public comment portion of the debate for this proposal, we would like to remind committee members and the public of a few
Look at this
ground
lady
rules.
right here.
In order for everyone to have a fair chance to speak and be heard, it is important that we each observe the following ground rules. First, each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Second, any public comments must really be related to the agenda item under
Lights are on, but
consideration.
nobody's home.
Third, speakers who stray from the item under consideration or become unduly repetitious may be asked to move on to their next
he's
point or
from
conclude their
Bargersville
comments.
Fire Department?
Finally, attendees who cause
Indianapolis Fire
disruptions that
Department.
prevent council from proceeding to today's agenda in a reasonably efficient manner will be removed. Please remember that some types of threatening speech or incitement to violence aren't protected by the First Amendment at all. We will deal with those issues if they come up, but we don't think they will. Now, Madam Chair, if a committee member asks for the consent to adopt these rules, we can proceed to public comment.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. If I go more than 2 minutes, she'll punch me. You don't have to. My name's Tom Hannafy. I'm a longtime resident of Chatham Arch. I've moved in back in 1978 and been there the whole time since then. Great place to live. By the way, most of us. So this is Dee Machetta, and she's going to say a few words. And we have other board members here from the Chatham Arch Neighborhood and neighbors, residents. We are proud, we are fortunate and blessed to live
not
in a
from
neighborhood.
here, though, are you?
Most of us walked here today, which is pretty nice. Chilly, but it's good. I'm old. I gotta move.
Get
keep
to
moving.
it.
So what we're trying to do is came up with a compromise, and Councilor Brown articulated very well. This is two blocks with 2 blocks long off College, between College and Broadway, that we have one side street parking, and then Broadway and Park, which go north and south through the neighborhood, and we want to use one side of those. It's very important to us and the neighborhood and the board of the neighborhood that we accommodate our neighbors. And the people, no offense to wealthy people in there drinking, or people with money that want to come and eat and enjoy it, but really the people that work in the community, the kitchen help, the waiters and the wait staff.
There's really nowhere to park over there,
and really, so we want to leave parking for them too, because they are servicing it. The other thing is, when I moved in there, trust me, we had plenty of places to park. I know 78, I know a few of you weren't born. Dan, you were. But we know.
Get to it.
Wasn't. Oh, Councilor Jones wasn't. But but because of the development we all love and appreciate, it has caused a lot more pressure. And if we want to have families or people have families visit us in the neighborhood, we just need some accommodation. And I'm done.
This a one-way?
Thank you. Would you state your name, please,
Broadway?
for the record?
Dee Makeda. I'm the president of the Chatham Arch Neighborhood
it's just
Association.
really tight.
Been president for a couple of years. I'm a new person to Indianapolis, moved here from Syracuse, New York, and being in the Chatham Arch neighborhood has been life-saving. It is a beautiful neighborhood. You can walk to just about anything that you need.
So basically, she moved out of Syracuse, New York, which is a very blue area, to Indianapolis, which is another blue area, just so she could spread her liberal brain disease.
And neighbors are very helpful. You know, if you need something, they're always there. So,
I don't know. Hey, I think I might know somebody who's from that area. Hey, if you're watching this right now, I would love for you to comment on what your experience was like in the Chatham Arch area.
So my big concern is that once there was an influx of the businesses, Bottle Works and the hotel, even some condos, people saw our neighborhood as a free parking area. And those neighbors who have no off-street parking, who have no garages, they find it difficult to park close to their homes, or to have people come and visit, to park and visit them, or to have service people come. So what we're asking for is, instead of the whole neighborhood being permit parking, where we say nobody can park here except for a resident, what we wanted to do is leave some parking spaces, as Tom said, especially for the employees that work around Chatham Arch, employees on Mass Ave, some of the employees who might not get paid parking in the Bottle Works area or any of the businesses over there, and so that we share that neighborhood. And that, I think, that's one thing about the neighborhood, is that we have such a diverse population, that even more people coming in and, you know, interacting with our neighborhoods and us interacting with them makes it even a better place to live.
Thank you. Question from Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there any a cost associated with this to obtain the permit?
As far as I know, we're going to accommodate whatever it is. I do not know. Certainly, we don't have an issue with that. The city's part is an ordinance. But the other ones, on my understanding, the other places that have it in the community do not have a cost. But that's something we're happy to talk about and consider.
Well, I appreciate
I'm not sure
that.
it's a bad idea, Councilor.
Is there anybody from DPW that may know if there's a cost associated with this permit?
Good evening, Nathan Sheets, DPW. There is no cost associated with the program. I believe each resident receives a parking pass per registered vehicle that they have, and then they receive 2 guest passes. Those are administered through the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services, but to my knowledge, there's no cost associated with the program at all.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to make sure there was no cost for the residents on this permit. I don't think there should be any cost for this. There's no reason for there to be a cost at the expense of the residents. So as long as there's no cost to the resident on this, I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Cahill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, can we get Nathan to come back?
Oh. Stick with us.
Sorry, and I don't know if you know this, but I could see this opening. We don't get these very often. Do you have any ballpark estimate of what it costs us to operate this program?
There's a cost associated with the implementation of the signs. Obviously, for this to be enforceable, we would have to do some sign installs. I think our rough estimate on signs are about $50 per sign. Just doing a rough estimate, we're probably looking at maybe 10 to 15 signs. So I guess that would be $750-ish from a sign perspective. And then I think the other cost is probably the implementation or supplying there's basically a placard or a sticker that's placed in the window. Unfortunately, since that's issued through BNS, I don't have that figure. I wouldn't be able to estimate that.
Okay. Well, I guess my comment would be that I would invite us to have somebody from BNS join at some point, because I don't think that the cost should be excessive, but I also we are entitled under state law to recover reasonable fees. So I don't know what that would be, if it's $5 a year or something, but rather than this be another program where the city spends its money. So thanks.
Thanks.
Chairwoman Carlino?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that's a valid point, Councilor Cahill. And one of my questions about cost is on the enforcement piece. It just broadens the enforcement. And is that something that is like a tow program through police impound, or what does that look like?
Yeah,
Mr.
that's a
Sheets?
great question. And that's what I keep thinking to myself. Well, how is this whole thing going to be enforced? You're going to have some kind of permit sticker. You're going to be like, and then the signs are going to be there that you're not allowed to park here unless you actually live here, or if you have a guest pass, which is kind of crazy too. Like, there's not enough police and there's not enough IMPD officers for them to go around Chatham Arch, putting their light on, or like, hey, do you belong here? Oh, ticky time. Or then it's like, what's going to happen? Then they're going to have to get a tow truck, and then they're going to get towed out of there. And then that person who might not even know the area and probably don't know anything about that there's signs and this is only permit parking, they're going to take a chance anyway. And then what's going to happen? They're going to have to pay a $200 or $300 tow bill because they wanted to go down to Mass Ave and have a drink or have some din-din. And then now their car is taken away. Like, how is this going to be enforced? Because my wondering is, this is a very blue area, and the people of Chatham Arch are very anti-police. But now they're going to have to become the police to enforce the rules that they want. So that's how it works. How ironic, right? The people that you hate the most, you're going to have to become them.
I'll stay up here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've missed you.
I think that there's, and maybe I could defer to Leonette. I don't know if in the code it talks about the what a violation constitutes, or what if there's a cost associated with that. I think it's either towing or there's a ticket that's basically issued by IMPD. I'm unfortunately not sure which one of those is the correct is correct though.
Well, and I think that I appreciate that, Nathan. And Madam Chair, I would just say that, thinking about how we communicate these changes to those enforcement bodies to make sure they know, to help us ensure that those permits are, that the cars are parking in the appropriate areas, and that enforcement and education, right? We want to make
How are you
sure
gonna
that
educate them?
we're even working to educate those service workers who currently rely on that for parking, to let them know that's coming, and to make sure they make plans.
So you're going to have to go to each business and tell them, hey, Here's a pamphlet. You're not allowed to park here anymore. Even though this is what you use, this is where you park. You don't have to pay for parking. Otherwise, your shit's gonna get towed. Yeah, that's gonna go over real well.
To do those things.
You know what's gonna happen? Those people are just gonna quit and go to a different job.
I do believe that for the most part, from an enforcement perspective, or historically how this has been taken care of, it is kind of based upon complaints that are generated by the residents. So I don't believe that IMPD actively patrols the area and looks for violations, but I'm sure that the neighborhood can keep an eye out as well.
I'm sure they will. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Vice Chair Boots.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Sheets, this is for you as well. Are there other programs anywhere in the city or county where the IMPD is charged with the duty of policing and ticketing illegal parking? I mean, do they even have the capacity or experience to do that?
That's what I just said.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the other potential enforcement agencies. I mean, maybe the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services can enforce ordinances or ordinance violations. We've got 621-121, which is no parking anytime, and 621-122, which are various code sites. And if there's violations, there are tickets that are in fact issued. But I believe IMPD may be the only agency that can actually do that enforcement. With exception, Park Indy is able to do enforcement for meter-related violations. And I think here recently there was maybe a change in ordinance that allows them to perhaps do some enforcement for other parking violations like hydrants and loading zones and things like that.
And just for clarification, one side will be permit parking for residents only, and the other side is open?
Open parking.
Okay.
On two of the streets. The other two streets, the other short streets only have one side of the parking now.
Yeah, okay. And that's free parking now? Yeah, okay. All right, I just think maybe a little more thought needs to be given to enforcement, or are we just going to rely on complaints and maybe someone come out and, you know, and one who's been having their, particularly with young drivers whose cars have been towed, that's a real pain in the rear. It's expensive, it's disruptive, it wastes an entire day or weekend and costs you $300 or $400. So I would not.
Sounds like his children aren't behaving very well and getting your stuff towed.
Want that necessarily to be the enforcement, because I think that's smashing an ant with a sledgehammer. So I would just caution you to give that some thought. Thank you.
Any other Councilor Brown?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make one point that I forgot to earlier, which was that the Chatham Arch residents not only have been working on this for multiple years, but I don't want to lie about how many signatures you gathered from neighbors, but upwards of 80% of neighbors signed the petition asking for this, closer to 90%, I think. So it's extremely universally, that's not true. I got one email from someone, of course, but besides that, it was universally supported by someone by the neighborhood. So,
if I may, if Dee gives me permission, Madam Chair, I think the neighborhood would work with all these ideas. I think they're all good ideas. I don't think we expect IPD to come and police that, you know, to patrol it. But it would be if somebody has some concerns or something, they would call and figure out that process. So we just want to know, let you know, we would discuss all these things happily.
Thank you. Yes, Chairwoman McCormick.
Thank you. Question for maybe just to have a future answer. If we would talk about fees or something like that, would this be unique to the Chatham Arch, or would this go against all like areas? So part of, I think, what we need an understanding on about the at least net rev, like breaking even kind of thing, right? So we're not, so it's just a balance, right? Just to have the opportunity. How can we change that? And is it just for one neighborhood, or do we have to bring them all in? And how great is that conversation, right? So I just want to put that in, but I do think a further conversation is a good idea.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from our counselors? All right.
Madam Chair, I just have to say one thing. We've been working with DPW, and on this for a while. Nathan, and not just Mr. Sheets, I should say, has been so cooperative with us. He's been around forever. He just looks young. And he's been around a long time, and we're very blessed in the community to have him. He's offered to come to our community to talk about traffic issues and all. I mean, and we're nervous to bring him because we never know what will mess up. But we will bring him in, and it's nice to have public servants like that. So I just want to tell you that and thank Nathan publicly.
109 grand.
Yes, they have a great team. Thank you very much, Nathan. And he's very patient, too. Very patient with us. Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak on Proposal 393? All right. All right. Is there a motion to?
Madam Chair, I move that we send Proposal 3 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded to send Proposal 393 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Happy holidays and have a wonderful new year.
No, Commie. No. It's Merry Christmas. That's what it is. Ain't it? Happy holidays. You disgusting Commie. All right. All right, there you go. Chatham Arch is going to try and be their own police, right? Hey, you're not supposed to park right here. And we got who are you going to call anyway? That's what I want to know. Who exactly are you going to call when there's somebody who's not supposed to be parked there? Yeah. Well, you know, I have had my car towed in Chicago. I had it parked at a Walgreens, and I was just going to be somewhere else for like an hour. And then I come back, and it was towed out of there. I had to go to this really sketchy neighborhood and pay like $200 or $300 to get it out of there. It was really late at night. I think it was like, by the time I got there, it was like 11 or midnight, and it not cool. You ever been to like an currency exchange and they have that really thick bulletproof glass behind them? Same thing. It was like 2 or 3 inches. It wasn't inside of a building either. It was just like this little kiosk, but they were surrounded in this, like, you know, big as a table, basically. Very sketchy, no doubt. But I'll be interested to know how this whole thing turns out. I don't think anything's really going to happen. It's probably meant for those people that, like, leave their car there for a week or a couple of days. Like, how are you going to be able to enforce it? Who are you going to call to enforce it? Are you going to be that person where you call up a tow truck, but then how are you going to prove that they're not there? I mean, it's going to be a whole lot of legwork, whole lot of effort. We'll see what happens, though. I'm interested. I'm still not going over if I can avoid it because I try to stay out of downtown as often as I can. But next time.